Hello and welcome to tonight's edition of the Evening Review. My name is Toiwan Jabela, your host. First, our front page for today. Tonight we have a very interesting interview with a young entrepreneur, Michael Amushelelo, who actually paid us a visit to talk about his case last year and a host of other things. Don't go away. Like I promised earlier, I'm joined today in the studio by Michael Amushelelo, very known, well-known business person, young entrepreneur in our country. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, Toivo.
Yeah.
It's been a while, so
yeah, sure.
I'm glad you finally called me up so I can also come and sit in this nice chairs.
Indeed. Part of the reason why we called you is I didn't think I would actually get hold of you because you sort of just got off the radar, you disappeared.
No, not necessarily. I mean, I've always been on the radar.
Yeah.
I think I'm one of those few Namibians who the one week they are talking good about me, the other week they're not talking so good about me, but I've been consistently being there.
Sure,
Yes.
sure. Let's get into this. So you are best known for your business activities.
Yes.
Started very, very early in your childhood already. I'm told selling sweets at school and then you rose in the ranks to until in 2014, I think your major breakthrough in terms of recognition when you got that I think Vintuklaga ambassadorial
business ambassador award.
Yes. And you also went on to win, I think, Business Innovation Awards.
Yeah,
after
definitely.
that. To what do you attribute this success and this recognition?
I think just my hunger to achieve more in life.
Yeah.
I think everybody has a thirst to actually want to do more for themselves.
Yeah.
But many of us, due to a lot of factors such as our social background, our upbringing and things of that nature, many of us don't get to achieve that, because if you look at the environment some of us grew up in, it was environments where you're told not to dream that big.
Yes.
You are told to dream, you say, okay, no, I want to become an engineer. They say, okay, my child, how about you don't just become a soldier like your parents or join the police force? So you're always limited in terms of what you could want to dream about. So I think also as a young man and as a child, I always wanted to push those barriers to say that we should not limit our children to say that this is just for them. I think there's more out there in the world, and provided that we actually learn how to teach our kids to soar the wings so that they can actually fly like eagles. I think that's the only best way we can bring about the good in our children.
Definitely. And how much value do you attach to ethics in business? How important is being ethical in business?
Well, being ethical in business is the core of business. Because once the business doesn't have ethics, then you have situations whereby companies are stealing from their employees, they are being dishonest in terms of paying taxes to government, and all sorts of things. So I think ethics is the core of running a day-to-day business.
Yes.
And they're paramount to you actually setting up a good reputation that's going to last your company 10, 20, 30 years, or a lifetime for that matter.
Indeed. And so which brings me now to your arrest last year. I know it's a matter before court. Maybe we have to traverse carefully there, but I have to ask you this.
Yes.
If ethics are so important in business, what led to that arrest last year because the opposite was actually being said, that you were not being ethical in business, that you did some underground things that were not legal. What was that about?
Well, I mean, it's now for the court to decide what is it that I was doing unethical.
Yeah.
What is it that they've unearthed all of a sudden in terms of the charges that they've brought forth. I mean, they've brought charges forth of money laundering, fraud, and some of them contravening the Banking Act or whatever the case is, POCA and all of these things. So they now need to say, okay, fine, we see that you've been dealing in drugs. And with this drug money, you have now been trying to clean it in this specific manner. In terms of fraud, we see that you have defrauded Toivo of his 100,000. You never paid him back. You promised that you'll get it back to him. So I'd like that to also come to light so I can actually also understand what are these actual charges that have been alleged against me. Yes.
And so I know the case will come, but in the meantime, what would you say was the sort of the, are you at liberty to tell us what was the model for especially your Forex business? What was the model there?
No, the model is quite simple. It's a simple model. So I'm a Forex trader. I trade on the foreign exchange market. And a lot of people also had gotten an interest to do this Forex trading, but obviously due to a lack of experience, a lack of knowledge, they were unable to succeed in it. And then we came up with a business model to say, okay, fine, you, Toivo, would also like to trade on the foreign exchange market, but you have no idea and you have no clue how it works. So what happens is we set up a set of rules, a few contracts and so forth, and say, okay, fine, well, here's my contract. I'm now willing to say, if you have a minimum of 5,000, you give me the 5,000. After a period of 2 months, I give it back to you with 50%, and that's it. That was the business model that we ran.
And it worked because?
It worked because, as far as I'm concerned, there's no single Namibian that invested with us that can come back and say, Michael Amushelelo didn't pay me on time, or he defrauded me, or anything of the sort. So what we need to understand is that our business model was eating into existing businesses models. We need to understand that there are existing businesses that have investment models, but because their investment models are a bit outdated, they offer you 4 to 5% per annum, and people were simply getting tired of this because times have changed, the economy has worsened. Who has time to sit around with $100,000 waiting for 4% per annum, which is a mere lousy 4,000. Plus that 4,000 basically eats up in your charges when you go withdraw it. So people were fed up of how the current system is being run, and they saw a business model that was working, and they said, well, let's jump on board.
I see. And so those that we saw saying, there were sentiments by a few people who claimed to have been investors with your business. Saying, no, we haven't been receiving anything, we didn't get anything back, and then suddenly we see Michael driving all these fancy vehicles. Who are those?
Who are those? Those are basically merely haters. That's those who are those people. I mean, everyone succeeds in this life, and eventually they're like, this guy owes me money, but how come these people didn't come forth, go to the police, open their cases, have me charged or anything of the sort? Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm being charged by the anti-money laundering division as well as Bank of Namibia. It's not individuals that came forth and said these are the cases. It's basically the state that came after me saying that, well, I think this guy is becoming too powerful, he's becoming too loud, he needs to be stopped, or I don't know what the case is, but that's the case. So as for these other individuals, if they've got the claim to say that they've invested money with me and I've not paid them, please, we've got social media today, whereby you can upload to say, this is the money that I paid to this guy, and this guy on several occasions, I've texted him, I've called him, he's failed to come back to me. It's plain and simple. I mean, it's not back in the days where it was your word against mine. Today we've got screenshots, we've got all sorts of evidence that you can put ahead and say, this is the reason why I was not paid. So unfortunately, those are just claims by people who are sour, that I was soaring higher than they are. And that's unfortunately the bitter taste of success when you do become successful.
Indeed. Now, because of that issue, did it affect your business? Where does your business stand right now? Have you been told to stop? Are you still trading? What is the status? Has it been damaging to your business?
No, I mean, it's totally been devastating because as far as I'm concerned, all my accounts have been frozen.
Yeah.
All my businesses have been shut down.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm not operating anything at all. So it's been devastating. The worst part is our investors and our employees.
Yes.
They are the ones who are suffering the most. Because imagine you, Toivo, you had gotten your pension of 100,000, and then you said, no, I'm going to put it with Amushelelo.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Amushelelo's accounts have been frozen or they've been seized.
Yeah.
And I'm unable to pay you out. And now you've got debts that are piling up. You've got kids that you need to send to school and all of these things. So in terms of the Banking Act 55, it clearly states that when somebody is found to be contravening with these banking laws, what the Bank of Namibia is supposed to do is supposed to then call in this individual who's doing these activities. And then come say, Chief, we see here that you are operating a business banking model. Do you have the proper licenses or do you have the proper procedures and whatnot? If they then see that you do not have those things, then Bank of Namibia then instructs you to say, please refund all the monies of your clients. And then failure for you to do so, then only are they supposed to act. But the Bank of Namibia, in its own wisdom, failed to apply its own set of rules that was set for it. So you can clearly see that there's either a force behind Bank of Namibia or people clearly just do not know how to follow procedures. And this boils down to the fact that we are now seeing the state having to fork out 800,000 for the Nanso marching demonstration kits. And this cannot continue to be going ahead where we've got people in government who have, or officials in government states or institutions who have a clear set of rules on how to do things, but they go beyond those clearly set parameters and do things as they please and as they wish. We have a set of rules in this country that should be followed by anyone and everyone.
Indeed. Now, but because this Forex business, I have no understanding of it, but I follow your activities, and you seem to have really done very well for yourself with this business. Can the same be said about some of your clients? Can you say that, you don't have to mention their names, but can you say that proudly that indeed there are those who invested or participated in our scheme and have really liberated themselves financially?
Definitely. Well, a whole lot of people. I mean, people can come out and testify. You know, what I always say is when people say, but where are the people, where are the testimonies? What I always attribute is we're not a church. We don't have time for testimonies. But if people have to show you their bank statements and what they have done with their money, they will clearly show you that, yes, it was working and we have succeeded. People have been able to pay school fees for their children. People have been able to pay off their mortgages. People have been pay off their accounts and all sorts of things until the project was disturbed unannouncedly. So it was working. And unfortunately, I personally believe that our business model was a threat to other existing businesses because at the rate and growth that we're going, most of these banking institutions were not going to exist for as long as we're in business.
Indeed. So, and then, which brings me to a different question now, which is that when we spoke, you hinted at possible external factors that might have pushed some of these authorities to pursue you. Could this be linked by any chance? Of course, you mentioned that one of it is that you were basically becoming a threat to the existing system. But maybe also the way you express yourself, so you're a free-spirited man. You say things that maybe upset a lot of people. I know, for example, that you don't have kind words for the president.
Not at all.
What is the problem? What is your issue with the president?
It's not to say I have an issue with the president, but as a voter and as a citizen of this country, I have every right to hold him accountable. Because what I'm doing is basically holding him accountable to the things that he said he's going to do. you cannot tell us that you're going to do things for the nation at the same time you're doing the opposite.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we now live in a time and an era where we can freely express ourselves as we wish and as we want. And people always blatantly say, but why is it only that you're expressing yourself now that you have this current president? I mean, if you look back at some of us, we are born free. We literally just got into the system. We literally just started understanding how things are working. So it's not my fault that my parents did not hold the previous presidents accountable when it was their time. But as for me, who now understands what's going on in terms of politics, in terms of economics, I now have the right and I'm at liberty to hold the man accountable for the things that he says he's going to do. And it's not to say that I hate him. It could be anyone who's been sitting in that office. If it was you for that matter, it will still be the same case. Whoever is going to come into that office, I'll still have the same very exact words if they are not doing what they're saying they're going to do. Because I'm tired of leaders in this country that hold positions. They say they're going to do things for the masses, but they do the total opposite. It cannot continue to be undebated that this person's cannot be asked questions or cannot be, we cannot express ourselves in terms of how we feel. It's the nature of how the business is. If the man is not happy with the things that is being said about him, then leave the seat for others who are capable of criticism, because the position that you occupy, unfortunately, allows for you to have that sort of criticism. Whether now he's doing good or whether he's doing bad, criticism will always be there.
And in that case, then I had the chief of police exactly where you are seated this week, and he threatened to arrest those of you who
don't have nice words. Who don't have nice words for our leaders. Well, my message to Ndeitunga would be very clear. Let us solve the issues that are pertinent in this country. Youths are unemployed. We have graduates year in, year out who are graduating into a jobless economy. We have an educating system that is failing our grade 10 learners and our grade 12 learners. Crime is on a rise due to the fact that our young people do not have any sense of hope, and they tend to crime as a source of income for them to get these things. And the youth obviously now starting to insult and all of these things. It basically boils down to frustration. The young people have been frustrated for far too long. They've seen that things are going on in this country, and we seem to turn a blind eye. I mean, I for one say, in the case of this fish rot scandal, had it not been for the international media that broke this case, it would have gone again under the carpets like all other things that go under the carpet in this country. So the young people are fed up, and unfortunately when people are fed up, they don't have nice words. That's just the unfortunate part. But if you're doing things as you're supposed to be doing them, then fortunately we would have most probably praises for our leaders. But unfortunately right now, we have absolute zero praises for our leaders because they are not doing the things that they're supposed to do. I mean, imagine these guys are failing to manage a country with merely a population of less than 3 million people, with the vast resources that we have in this country. And you are telling me that these leaders are failing to manage us correctly. Yet they continue to go undebated, living in luxury, driving in luxury. Yet we've got schools here in Windhoek who electricity is being shut down, water is being shut down. Imagine in the capital, we still have schools that are learners that are being taught in tents. Now imagine if we go to rural areas. Is it not worse in those areas? Perhaps. So unfortunately, we are not going to have words of praises for anyone. Remember, we voted you guys into those positions that you are. And these people should start realizing that they are our servants. It's not the other way around. They should be serving us. So in fact, if it's anything, Ndeitunga and all his cronies should be bowing down to us and coming to say, young people, we are sorry, we humble ourselves and all of these things. That's what should be happening. That's the honest truth.
Nice one, Mr. Amushelelo. So a lot of people were hoping and anticipating that you'll be in Parliament actually starting next month. But you are not going to Parliament. You had power, not power, the power that you have, financial power and everything, but power, the political party. Why did power not take part in the elections last year?
Okay, the reason why Power did not take part in the elections last year is unfortunately we did not meet the requirements as set out by the ECN.
Yeah.
It's a small setback for us, but we now understand that the dynamics have changed. But regardless of that, Power has somehow been able to thrust all these independent candidates that are being thrown out. Because a young man was able to stand up and say, I'll start a political movement.
Yeah.
And as a result of starting that political movement, a lot of other young people also had an opportunity to say, why can't we be independent candidates? Why can't we be this? And why can't we be this? And we have seen how this phenomenon has actually started changing.
Yes.
I mean, if you see our politics in the past 28 years, it's not been the same.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, things have changed.
Yeah.
But things have changed due to the fact that some of us were courageous enough to stand up and say, we're not going to continue with the current way things are going.
Yeah.
We'll try and do something to change the system.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I'm not necessarily the one at the forefront of running this independent candidacy, but I can proudly say that thanks to some of the things that we did, we have actually awoken the spirit of many Namibians to say that we are going to stand up and do things for ourselves if the government that's currently in power is not going to do things for us.
Indeed. And what was the relationship with Power and Mr. Karonda? He when he announced at some stage last year that he wanted to sort of participate in the political discourse and activity, your banners were there. What was the
No. I approached Mr. Karonda and I sat down with him and we said, you know, obviously legally, due to the fact that I cannot run for president, due to the fact that you need to be 35 and all these other many requirements. And we said, okay, fine. I've seen Mr. Karonda. Is a very reputable fight in terms of prompting questions that need to be prompted. One of the very few people who sacrificed his life in terms of his financial gains, being fired from his former union because he was questioning too much things. So I needed someone like that on board in terms of him being the party president so that he can actually contest in the elections. So we'll continue to work with individuals that we see have the caliber to actually push this country into the right direction that we see it needs to go.
Indeed. The last question, Mr. Amushelelo, is you are perceived as a very, very bright man.
Yes.
Bright young man who succeeded in business and a man of good ideas.
Yes.
Some of them, you express them tonight on this show. But there's an element to your life also. The flashy element, you know, filming your bank account with millions in it.
Yes.
You standing by malls and flashing money, telling people to join Illuminati.
Yes.
How do you justify those kind of behaviors?
How do I justify those kind of behaviors? Now, first thing is first, we all need to understand that we are individual human beings. And I do not owe anyone an apology for being myself.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, people cannot be true to themselves because society has given them a set of rules to say, this is how you need to behave.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if you behave the way society tells you to behave, then you become a normal individual in society that people do not know about. But when you behave abnormal, that's the only way you become a Michael Amushelelo in this world. So I make no apologies for being who I am, whether now I'm fleshy and all of this. But what's ironic and funny is that people only see the fleshy side of me, but they do not see the sympathetic side of me or the philanthropic side of me. Why do people not make a fuss when I donate 100,000 to a school? Why do they not make a fuss when I donate 50,000 to a school? Why do they not make a fuss when I sponsor children, students with their tuition fees? Why do they not make a fuss about that? So I think this selective morality of saying, why is he showing off his bank account? And not being also selective and saying, why is he sponsoring schools or why is he fixing things in the country? That selective morality tendency should also be quit. But I make no apologies for being Michael Amushelelo. If you're not happy with that side of my life, unfortunately, there's nothing that I can do. All I can do is most probably say, I hope you do not have a phone where you can actually be able to see me on social media doing the things that I do. Other than that, most probably you would have to block all the social networks. That's the only way to avoid seeing me. But in any case, you will be seeing me like they are seeing me now. But it's been a pleasure speaking to you, Toivo.
Thank you very much, sir, for coming through. I really appreciate your time.
Pleasure.
Yes.
Awesome.
That is Michael Amushelelo, a young entrepreneur, just expressing his views on a number of issues. On a lighter note, my colleague Michael Kayunde spoke to Taylor J, a local artist. Here is the conversation that they had.
What's up, Namibia? Welcome to yet another edition of Chill Sessions with me, Michael Kayunde. And joining us today is, the Continental, none other than Taylor J, who recently launched her new music video, Kashia, featuring Patron King. Welcome to our studio. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
You've been in the country for like a week now. How are you finding it? How are you mingling with your fans?
It hasn't been a week, guys. It's been like 2 weeks, but people think I'm not based here. Like I do live here and I live in South Africa. So I'm actually quite like here a lot. I may be low key off the radar, Yes. I didn't come here. I came, this is the first time I'm here this year because I was a bit busy. But yeah, I'm always here.
But you've been busy with this year musically, apart from the single that is currently, causing havoc on the streets and online.
Well, I'm still wrapping up my international album. I just came back. I was traveling around, performing and everything. So right now I'm busy wrapping my international album, wrapping the videos for that so that I can still start putting out a lot more content. Because now I just dropped Kesha, so I need to follow that up, There's it's a lot of heat coming.
Like, do you have like an estimated time frame on when the album is coming out, the Continental album that we are
Yeah, you can expect it sometime around Easter, right after Easter. But I will be dropping my next single probably month end. It's a little bit of a mapiano.
Okay.
For those that went, for those that went to the launch, they heard a preview of it, a snippet of it. Yeah.
You just mentioned that the next single is going to be an amapiano song, and the current single is total sonically the sound is different. So as like in terms of the full album, what sonic direction did you take?
Well, my album is 80% Afrobeat. By Afrobeat, I mean it's like slow, mid-tempo variation. Because Afrobeat across the continent is everything that is African. It's an African drum line. You get, then it's got a little bit of boom. It's got a little bit of house, like proper Afro house, And this current single, Keshe, is Zanku. Zanku is also Afrobeat. It's just the more up-tempo one. So
how did that collaboration actually come about? Because Namibia, Nigeria, and
Well, I met Pato in 2018 at a Trace event, and we started talking a little bit here and there, and then last year, my producer that actually did a track with me called Satsa, he happened to be working on Pato's album at the same time. So he did something for me and I jumped on it and I was like, let Pato listen to this. So I sent it to him. He listened, he's like, yeah, I want to jump on this and so forth. And then he did things. And then Chinchilla, being from my label, obviously jumped on it last minute. He just decided, you know what, I want to drop a verse on this,
And there's also news that, you have a partnership, or rather, like you came here with Hillary, so you guys are working together. He's doing your PR, right? How?
Well, I don't like to disclose who I work with. I work with various people, but yes, Hillary is one of the people I am working with, amongst many others. You understand? You can never keep track.
As what? What exactly is Hillary doing in the brand Taylor J?
Well, I generally don't like to disclose what people do. I work with people in a different capacity. My team is not just in Namibia, but Hillary is working with me now for my Namibian team. And I also have a team that I work with in South Africa. I have a team I work with in Nigeria. I have a team that I recently started working with in Tanzania. So it's very important as a musician that your brand, if you want to go continental, that your brand is spread out. That you have people that are experts within that market space handling your brand.
Because you are actually well connected. Like, how important is like networking for you?
It's very important. Most of the things I've been privileged to have happen in my career came based on networking, being at the right place at the right time, but also not being shy to talk to anyone. I always tell musicians, if you're in a room, if you're invited to a place, don't be quiet, Go and talk to someone, you know what I mean? Like, for example, I said I met Pato at a Trace event. You know, we just randomly, we just hope both of us happened to be there. We started talking, you know what I mean? If I was like, nah, I don't want to talk to you, or I don't want to talk to anybody, that wouldn't have happened. Yeah, so anywhere you go, network is very, very important. Do not burn your bridges, darlings.
Well, there you had it. You know, network is very important.
Yes.
But to wrap it up, you know, your socials, where can people find you?
Okay, they can catch me at Taylor J World, and that's for Insta, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. Or you can catch me on www.taylorjworld.com. That's Taylor J with a J, J-A-Y-E, guys. Do not search for me with that J.
Well, there you had it. Please make sure you get it correct. But until next time, from me, Michael, thank you so much for joining us. And, you know, don't forget to check out the Letters music video. And bye-bye.
Yes.
Yes.
This was tonight's show. We'll see you on Monday again. Good night.